Alan, what do you think? Is Cameron really bisexual or is he lying?
Definitely a lie. Hard lie.
Definitely 100%. A lie. Yeah. All bisexuals are untrustworthy.
That's a good platform for you to run on. Alan Henderson, Cameron Kasky is lying about his sexuality.
Hey, everybody. I'm Tim Miller.
I'm Cameron Kasky, and today we are joined by the future mayor of Tampa, Florida, Mr. Alan Henderson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm great. Tim, how's it?
How's you?
I'm great.
I'm pretty good. I wouldn't say that I'm refreshed. If I'm being honest, sometimes you come back from vacation, you're like, man, that was nice. I'm ready to hit the ground running. I got a to-do list, and I'm kind of like, I want to go back to Spain. So, I don't know. That's okay, though. I'm surviving. No, I don't. It's not like working in a coal mine over here, and I'm just sitting in my hole talking into a mic.
It's a very interesting thing because the thing that went crazy when you were away was the Epstein files, and it's still just as crazy, if not even crazier today. Right. So while you missed kind of the beginning of the new chapter of the Epstein saga, but just the beginning.
It's kind of how I feel, and everybody take that. If you're a listener, this is a pre-mailbag advice from us. If you need to take a week off, shut down your little Apple News. Not you, Alan. You're running for mayor. But the listeners, shut it down. Shut down X.com or Blue Sky or whatever you're on. Take a break. The Epstein scandal will still be here when you're back.
Or a new one will be in place of it in the next week. So
yeah. All right, Alan, tell us about yourself. First date, kind of rapid fire type stuff. Who are you? Why are you running for mayor? How old are you? You're 24 and a half?
I just turned 24 in February.
Just turned 24 in February. So almost not quite 24 and a half yet. And you want to be the mayor of one of America's worst cities. We'll get to that in a second. But talk to me about how that came to pass.
Well, I appreciate the platform. My name is Alan Henderson. Like I said, I'm 24. Born in Tampa, raised in Tampa, and I've had sort of the privilege of seeing both sides of life in our beautiful city. It's no Los Angeles, but Tampa has been kind of growing, and I feel like we're growing at a pace that is leaving some people behind. And I've always just felt like having the perspective of someone who's seen, the rough side of Tampa, where you're kind of having to, deal with bills and energy costs and that whole thing.
Where's the rough side of the tracks in Tampa? What part of town
Where is an interesting question. It depends on sort of the issues, I suppose. But there are some parts of the city that don't get a lot of attention and a lot of investment, as say like the waterfront or downtown. So I would say anywhere that's not our Riverwalk or the parts that get pictured in brochures definitely feels the lack of investment.
Well, I need a little more Alan color, though. You went into politician mode. That's nice. You're a politician now. You got to do that. But what is your deal? Like, you're in eSports. You're an entrepreneur. Like, what are you doing? What's happening? What was going on in your life?
I started in eSports. I started my first kind of YouTube channel back in 2016, and really even before that, I was role playing as a police officer in GTA, and so that kind of took off and.
So you could very well be the first mayor of Tampa who pretended to be a cop in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. that would be. I'm gonna add that to my to the plaque if I get it.
Is that like a furry situation?
I hope not.
What does role playing as a cop mean? What does that mean? Role playing as a cop? Were you batoning?
We had like a little group on. This is on PlayStation now, and basically we were the largest clan, the largest group. On PlayStation, I know you got to be careful with that word.
CLAN. Crew. In New Orleans, we call it a crew. I know you something
definitely called it a crew. Yeah. We were the largest crew on PlayStation. And it was just basically people who didn't want to rob the stores and shoot everybody up, but it had codes. I think we had at the peak somewhere around 600 members. Which on PlayStation back then was pretty good. And so I learned pretty early, leadership and organizing that many people. And that's sort of what's carried me, I suppose, through where we are today. I started and still in the gaming world, an eSports team. Those guys, they ended up 3 world records. We had 122,000 subscribers, partnership with Champion, G Fuel. And it just kind of gave me sort of leadership.
3 world records in what?
Call of Duty, all 3 of them.
So this is very interesting because, first of all, the content creator to mayor of a large city pipeline is starting to give me some ideas.
Okay.
I'm starting to plan some things. I'm starting to think that Yes We Cam would be a great campaign slogan.
Parkland? Do you have to move home to Parkland to do that, or what are you thinking about?
Oh no! I'm talking New York City, baby.
Okay, right? Well, sorry, we've already interviewed the prospective mayor of New York City.
We haven't had Eric Adams on yet, but anyway,
that's crazy.
So for people in our audience who might not be GTA heads, Grand Theft Auto is a very famous video game that caused a very big moral panic with parents, the same way that Dungeons and Dragons did during the Satanic Panic. They were very disgusted by the fact that it's a game where you kind of run around the city shooting people up, killing people. You know, you can kill prostitutes, you can do things like that. Grand Theft Auto, I'm not a video game guy, but it's a very fun video game. It's very cool. There's a movie called Grand Theft Hamlet where people recreate Hamlet in Grand Theft Auto, and it won a bunch of awards. But what Alan is saying to us is that leadership skills were developed by creating basically a police union on Grand Theft Auto, where instead of running around killing hookers, you are actually enforcing the law. So I guess to the people
order.
To the people in our generation who talk about defunding the police, as somebody who has organized police officers in the video game Grand Theft Auto, what do you say to that?
Well, what's interesting is a lot of the people in our community were police officers. And so growing up, I actually had a pretty polarized view of law enforcement. I had a thin blue line flag up in my wall. I was like super pro police. Absolutely. And it took kind of growing up and following politics more to learn that there's two sides of every story. And the sort of more nuanced view you should have of police is to respect them. You respect the job they do, respect the individuals, but then hold them accountable, right? Have a high standard for the law enforcement, for your community. And I felt like that's a good balance.
Were there ever any ethics violations with the cops in your Grand Theft Auto police unit?
Plenty that if they were applied in real life, by the time you're pulling out RPGs and, blowing up other cars, that might count as a ethics violation.
Alan, my spidey sense is tingling. Were you, like me, a high school Republican? Was your thin blue?
I wouldn't say
flag?
Republican.
Were you
just pro law enforcement?
Okay.
Like very heavily. That was just my world.
Okay, just a Joe Biden Democrat, strong pro law enforcement Democrat.
Perhaps.
Yeah, 1988 Joe Biden, I guess. All right, so I have an esports question. So you're an entrepreneur. You started an esports squad, so you're like the Jerry Jones of the esports squad. Like are you a player owner or
no? Just an owner. I'm actually probably the worst gamer in the entire org.
And then people sit around and like watch other people play Call of Duty. That's essentially what's happening
for us. Largely, Siege is what really got the ball rolling. But Call of Duty, Siege, Fortnite, Apex Legends for a while.
So it's just like dudes just kind of sitting around, like watching other dudes play video games. Like that's the gist of esports.
Not too different from politics. It's a lot of, not too different. It's a lot of back and forth, a lot of, crews and clans. The clans, we got to.
Shit talking.
We're done with clans.
A lot of shit talking.
But yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like how we have crews of dudes sitting around watching us trash talk right now, but they were just like sitting around watching guys talk, but like also, gapping people in the video game.
I'm so curious. I know a lot of gamer types, some from high school who used to say racial slurs when they were playing video games. Others, like former guest of the show, my dear friend Mooch, who plays video games a ton, but is super woke. Do you guys have like a woke code of ethics in your esports team? Or do you think you've got some kind of like manosphere alt-right types playing with
When I got into politics, it started the culture started to change a little bit. Now, like they send out memos about what people can say and what they can't say. But previously, just the kind of people in our group, by itself usually doesn't lean too crazy. So we try to manicure that a little bit.
I feel like that's what Gen Z Tim Miller was doing when he was like 28, is writing woke codes of ethics for esports teams.
I don't think that's right. I have a question for you about the isolation of young men. As an esports owner, are you concerned at all about that? You're going to run for mayor of Tampa. Like how are we going to, get people out into the community, meeting other humans, engaging, trying to, stop the radicalization pipeline. Do you have any big thoughts on that?
Yeah, ironically, eSports and the sort of gamer demo is a pretty good front row seat for that culture, as you can probably imagine. I think for both men and women, mental health is a pretty big deal. And probably just getting offline in general is probably pretty helpful nowadays. So certainly wanting to be able to kind of curate, fun, energy downtown, invite people out to, events, and that whole world is a big part of our platform.
It's like block party culture. What's the block party culture like in Tampa?
I was gonna say, I figured Tampa could use a mayor that knows how to throw a few parties. That's sort of also a part of my journey is marketing. I realize marketing an esports team, you can kind of market a lot of things. A lot of the principles carry over. So I got into event management, a little bit later. And so we threw a few parties, threw a pretty big party just at my house, retrofit everything, turned it into a hookah lounge, supercars, food trucks. It was pretty good. And that sort of kickstarted, learning and leading those kind of events.
Hookah culture gets you out into the public because, you have multiple people pulling on the straws. My only problem with hookah culture is that I worry about cold sores.
You have to get the disposable,
kind of as a germaphobe
tips.
Yeah, you're kind of sharing that straw with other people. Have you ever hookah'd, Cam?
Yeah, I hookah'd once. It wasn't enough nicotine for me. I was just like, somebody get me a cigarette. But dude, Eric Adams is the mayor of literally the Islamabad of America, New York City. Yeah, and he goes to hookah bars with belly dancers all the time. So you're on the right track, dude. Question for you. Like, I've got a brother who lives near Tampa, and something that was really concerning to us, I believe it was last year, was that really, really like disastrous hurricane that was just pounding through the west coast of Florida. And part of me is like, you are, I don't really know who your opponents are. I've got some questions about that, but like, as somebody who's running for mayor of Tampa on the platform of this kind of esports entrepreneurial background, what do you say to people who are like, why are you the candidate who can best handle climate disaster in Tampa? I
appreciate that. That's a great question. I feel like in order to do the role really well, you need to understand both people and policy. I think my people experience is something that's growing. I've had that side of Tampa. And then policy, I'm learning it at Harvard. I'm studying it right now. And I think that what the best mayor can do. So
is there a Harvard in Tampa?
Remotely.
Or you're going back and forth between remotely? I didn't know that Harvard did.
They do. The Cambridge guys will tell you they have it much harder, but the classes are still pretty expensive. So.
Got it. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. I think you have to understand both in order to do the job. And I think for me, what I find to be sort of the value proposition in my case is not coming in assuming that I have all the answers to, these questions, but being able to ask the right questions at the top of leadership, being able to, go to the environmentalists. We have USF right here in our backyard and ask them University of South Florida rather, what can we be doing, from a local leadership perspective, to be making our climate more resilient, to make our streets more flood proof, to make disasters which are becoming more and more predictable. How do we accommodate for that? And I just felt like having that as a priority is a pretty good start, considering the other candidates, aren't really. They're more focused on how they can extrapolate money from the insurance providers.
After the disaster in Texas, I feel like there's a lot of questions that I would be asking as a local leader about, weather detection, sort of how, whether or not the government services that exist to be able to predict these things are working efficiently. And especially in a state like Florida, where you've got DeSantis as governor, I would be super concerned about that. Do you think as mayor, you would prioritize streamlining all the systems of communication?
That's day one mission. We have what we call the City Sync Initiative. And that is to kind of unify all of the important services that we need to reach people-facing services, on one really clear platform. Right now in Tampa, it's a little bit fractured. If you are in a hurricane zone, you don't really know how to get out of it. We have this kind of convoluted tagging system. And I feel like just in a day and age where you can get a notification on your phone that says like, hey, you probably should leave the city. For us to not have that, being leveraged as much as we should, This doesn't seem like it seems like a missed opportunity. I feel like that.
What do you think about Ron DeSanctimonious?
Oh, that's a great question. I think as someone who, for at least the first bit of my term, I mean, I don't know which what I'll have to inherit with him. So I want to be kind of cautious of that. But I would say broadly,
you don't want him targeting.
Yeah, definitely you don't want that. I don't want him targeting Tampa. I don't really, me. Yeah, it's fine. But I would say broadly, I feel like in leadership, and you have that platform, there's so many things that you could be doing to improve the lives of the people in your state. And when you're running around, championing Alligator Alcatraz and you're trying to be president, like what has he actually been doing is my question. So I just think he's not the kind of leader that I would try to take notes from.
All right. I want to get back to my comment from earlier about why you'd want to run for mayor of one of America's worst cities. So I've kind of a short list of Tulsa, Tampa, Indianapolis, and Boston. That's my top 4 worst cities in America. And so I don't know what do you have to say to that? How
can you pitch Tampa to people?
Tampa is kind of a young crowd, so maybe you wouldn't like it. I don't know. No, I'm just teasing. Oh, no, nothing. No, Tampa's growing. Tampa is young energy, young professionals. Actually, you probably would fit right in. 20 to 35 is the major demo. People studying at college. We have USF here, University of Tampa. Healthcare industry is huge here. And it's for, we're at a place now where everything that you want in the city, aquariums, zoos, theme parks, beaches, everything that you probably want out of a Florida city, Tampa has. And we just need a mayor that can help us connect the dots a little bit. I think we have a branding issue, largely.
Yeah, well, because I saw a study that said that Tampa had the highest per capita number of tramp stamps of any city in America. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's something you can leverage from an economic development standpoint. But what do you think?
We should tax them.
That you tax them? Tax the tramp stamps
absolutely.
A little high? Yeah, get some revenue. That's
Tim,
smart.
I'm so with you on Boston. The other cities, I've been to all the ones you mentioned, but Boston is the one where I'm really on the same level as you. I think
the worst big city in America by far.
It's so awful and freezing and racist and terrible. Yeah. But what would you say are what's your quintessential gripe with Tampa? Where did Tampa touch you?
With me?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can get a yummy avocado toast in Tampa. I feel like it has all of the bad parts of Florida, but it doesn't have kind of the Latina Fantastica kind of Haitian elements that you get of South Florida. I'm kind of like, if I'm going to be in the trashy South, I kind of would rather just be on the Panhandle and just be fully redneck than kind of like a redneck hybrid in Tampa. That's my take.
My grandpa lives in the old Matt Gaetz district in
that's red.
Pensacola. Alan, quick question for you. I don't know how far Tampa is from Alligator Alcatraz, but what would your stance be on ICE raids happening in your city?
Fortunately, I just don't think we need that energy. People respect law enforcement here. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is pretty respected. I just don't know, other than for divisiveness and politics, why you would, start to drum up, sending people into churches here, sending people into schools. Just seems like a pretty poor use of resources.
So you don't think it'll happen?
Not that I don't think I wouldn't put anything past this admin, to be fair. But at least my stance on it is that our police should probably be doing their job, not ICE's job.
Yeah. What about the sanctuary city of it all, though? I mean, I think that's really where the question comes in, is whether you end up getting into conflict with the administration because they're sending in people over the, outside of the city.
Yeah, it's probably, it'll be tough if they start doing that, tough not to get into conflict with them. I think at least as far as what I'll be, doing, which is appointing a police chief that respects kind of community policing. It'll be, building trust with the community. You don't want the people running around afraid, including immigrants, running around afraid of police, and they don't report crime. They don't, go out like this. that's not the kind of city that Tampa should be. I don't know if I would go as far as using the language sanctuary city. I think that's going to put a target on the city's back. But like, if we have a budget and we have a kind of clear goal, it should all be going towards just keeping the people safe.
All right. So if we're putting you on a trajectory in your mayorship from friend of Cameron, Zohran Mamdani, on one end of the spectrum, to like friend of Tim, the only successful never Trump politician in all of America, the Republican mayor of Oklahoma City, David Holt. Where on the spectrum from Zohran to David Holt would you say that you fall?
Ooh.
With the Zohran being a 1 and David Holt being a 10. Now, obviously, there are more MAGA Republicans that are off the chart, but we're not gonna include them in the exercise.
I would say I probably am pretty close to where Tampa is, and probably say maybe a 4, right? Maybe a 4.
Okay.
Maybe.
Why is that close to where Tampa is?
Well, because I think Tampa, we have I'll tell you how close the margins are. Right now, the most recent data I've seen shows we have just 3,000 more registered Republicans in our city than Democrats. And historically, Tampa's leaned pretty blue. So we're kind of now at this place where it's like, okay, if young professionals are moving in, they're attorneys, they're doctors, they're pretty affluent. They have pretty clear expectations about, what kind of city will cost them money and what kind of city will help them continue their career. And so I think like maybe fiscally, I want to keep people, give as much money back to them as possible. I'm not planning any crazy tax hikes. I've sustained the budget where it is. Pretty pro law enforcement when they do their job right, but I'm also super accountability and transparency. And so somewhere in that mix, I just feel like you have just a pragmatic, issue-focused candidate that really kind of just laments like politics and the showmanship of it all.
So who's your toughest competition?
We have he's not an incumbent, but in our city, you can be mayor 2 terms consecutively, but then run again. And so we have, at least he's kind of floating the idea that he's going to run a previous mayor that's thinking about getting back in the race.
Okay, what's his name and why shouldn't we vote for him?
He hasn't announced this yet, but his name is Bob Buckhorn. And I don't think you should vote for him, not because of any personal reason. Actually, he was a pretty nice, candidate. I'm learning that all politicians are kind of nice, though. But I don't think you should vote for him because
to your face.
Yeah, to say at least to your face. I don't think you should vote for him because it's exactly his policies and his plans that have contributed to this sort of what I call 2 Tampas, right? Where you have the riverfront, the downtown, the brochure-ready skyline that they invest heavily in. That was his whole. Matter of fact, they just named a building after him like 2 weeks ago, the Bob Buckhorn Riverfront Center or whatever. It's that type of ideology that like undercuts investments and emergency management infrastructure, climate resilience, the things that also like really make a city a great place to be in or live in, rather, not just be in. He's sort of disprioritized. And I don't see why he wouldn't continue that same exact trend.
Bob Bookworm, you fucking nerd, if you're watching this, don't even bother. All right?
It's like, you've got a statue already. You've got a statue already. How much more does a man need?
Go read A Tale of Two Cities to take a look at your legacy. Great book. You ever read A Tale of Two Cities, Tim?
Like while you were fucking still drinking out of a bottle. So it's been a long time. Yeah.
Banger.
I did. I was going to say something a little more lewd, but what else? I've got some other national politics stuff. Do you have any other Tampa material, Cameron? Before we moved on?
No, I'm ready for this Bob guy to watch this and fuck off and learn how to manage his own Grand Theft Auto police union before he tries to come back and further divide the great city of Tampa.
At least
that's tough. So we had one of our past candidates, I guess we should say, had a loss last night. We're taping this on Wednesday.
Oh, deja.
So, it's a challenge for Zoomer candidates. She was running against a Nepo baby in the Tucson, Arizona district. Deja Fox was.
Friend of the show, Deja Fox, friend of mine, after receiving the king-making David Hogg endorsement, was unfortunately not the victor in her primary campaign. I think it is really special that she was able to win 20% of the vote at the age of like 24. That is not nothing. That is a pretty remarkable achievement to win 20% of a special election at such a young age. So Deja, we we shout you out. We admire you. You slayed with that. And I hope you get a chance to rest. But yeah, that leaves Kat standing. I don't know what other Zoomer candidates we've got.
Kat Abu Ghazaleh. Yeah, so Alan, you got to learn some lessons. I've got, before we get to the other national stuff, can you talk to us about your background there? You seem to be in like a kind of the back room of a strip club or something, with a patriotic strip club with the purple lighting. What's that?
Patriotic strip club is a pretty good descriptor. No, it's just, this is my room. You know, it was eSports ready before it was politics ready. But it's got like the American flag, some awards. But I just think that like the place when you're like at HQ, you know, it should kind of feel like however you want it. Something conducive to work. Okay,
you know? Purple. All right, Cameron, anything else? Take us out.
Everybody, he has been a police officer in Grand Theft Auto. Is single. Police chief in Grand Theft Auto. He is single. He believes in the deprogramming of MAGA men, which I believe is a positive thing because you're basically saying that spiritual redemption is something that we all can find in each other. Alan Henderson, the next mayor of Tampa, and the man who is going to save Tampa from Mr. Bookworm turning it into something even worse. Thanks so much for joining us, Alan. Everybody, subscribe, like, and comment down below what you would like Tim Miller to say to you at the bar.
Hi. What's up?
Hey, everybody. If you want more of the hardcore journalism in this cutting edge interview, go to the FY Pod spinoff channel. We've got new videos every day, and you can see a lot more fun stuff like this. Thanks so much.